And I just didn't love the just going for the summer. I wanted it to be something that we could do regularly. I, I guess I really wanted it to be not vacation, not like we were hoping for that day. We were just waiting for the summer to hit where we could get away from our lives and we could just go travel and do that thing for a short amount of time. I wanted it to be living while traveling together. And I didn't know what that would look like at all. But that's really what we were trying to do.
All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 22 of the Wake and Wander podcast. Happy New Year. 2026 is off and running. Hope yours has been better than mine. Had a main water line break in my backyard a couple days after the new year. So been dealing with that kind of fun stuff. But let's get all our bad karma out of the way before it gets going. Ready to rock and roll. Currently in Hawaii. About to kick off a tour this weekend. It's a big island hiking tour. Going to spend a couple days hiking in Kilauea Volcano, then go over to the Kona side and the Kohala Coast. Super stoked for that. Hope this finds you all well. Got a great guest to kick off the year here is Ted Baird. You heard him there in the intro. Some really, really cool themes in this podcast. Overall, we're talking about van life. I've always been curious about it. If you live out west, you'll meet a lot of people who are kind of working towards van life. They want to live in a van. They want to travel the country in it. Maybe some people even want to try and work from their van, like Ted and his wife are doing. So I wanted to take the opportunity to sit down with him. I've known Ted for a long time. I met him back in 2020, and he's been a good adventure buddy of mine. We've done a lot of backpacking and canoe trips and different stuff together. And over the course of these 5 years, I've seen him convert his life from a 9-to-5 to now where he is literally living and traveling and working from his van with his wife. And I wanted to talk to him. He came back in town for the holidays. I wanted to see what it was like to have the dream realized. Was it really as glamorous as Instagram and people make it out to be? What are the realities of the day-to-day life? How does he make it work? And then more so just diving into some pretty cool travel ideas and concepts. We talk about the difference between traveling and vacationing. And as you heard in the intro, we talk a little bit about what Ted was trying to accomplish. And I think he said it really well. A lot of people are looking at travel as to be an escape from their life. And Ted, from the very beginning, was trying to make this season of his life, as he calls it, something that wasn't just escapism or a temporary solution, but something that was really going to be a part of their lives and create an experience they would remember forever. So looking forward to spending another year with you all. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Okay, well, we'll backtrack a little bit to set the stage. I talk to so many people that want to do van life, talk about van life. I think you're so unique because we first met in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
We literally fought each other when we were meeting.
Yeah, that was fun, wasn't
At
it?
a kickboxing class. Yeah. Sorry I had to beat you up.
Yeah, that's not how I remember it, but...
Well, that's how I remember it. But when I first met you, you were in like a 9-to-5 job, traditional job, and we first connected over just this idea of living a more, not transient lifestyle, but one based less around like the normal rules of society, like 9-to-5, only 2 days off a week, etc.
Yeah.
And when I first met you, you were curious about this lifestyle and you wanted to change your life. Well, here we are 5 years later, and you've done it. You're living in your van, you're traveling all over the country. So just to introduce you to the audience, I just want to start about going back those 5 years, 2020, 2019, whatever it is in your mind. Tell me about that. You were in this full-time job. You wanted to break out. What do you remember about that time? And I don't even think you were thinking about van life at that time. You were more just thinking about getting a job that would allow you to travel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it comes down to a few things at that point in my life. I think a piece of it was meeting you and everything we went through and the fun and kind of getting a different perspective on traveling. You know, not the vacation traveling, not the go to a destination, sit in a resort, which is great at certain times. But I think my definition of traveling changed on staying in places longer and really kind of enjoying it as time went on, like through all my day-to-day life. I've always enjoyed traveling, but I think 2020 changed a lot in that idea of what I wanted to do, and I've kind of thought about a few different pathways. Like I enjoyed my sole trip to Europe and some different travels around there, and I never thought about combining remote work and van life, which is funny to say now. But the first thing I really wanted to do is continue in my career but work remote. That was the first big objective. So it took a while to get different positions, and I tried one that didn't work, and I thought I was going to be a travel agent, which was a remote job, which was funny right after COVID. That was not the time to get into that. And then did some different jobs here and there, and ended up with a great company, and just kind of started the remote piece. And after working remote stationary for a while, I felt like I wasn't taking advantage of what I wanted to accomplish with working remote. Honestly, what really happened is I looked at, if I could travel and work remote, what are really the options? And about that time I got married, and which was great, and we kind of went through some ideas, and I've always kind of wanted to travel international more. But the consequences of that with working for a company in the States and time zone didn't really allow that to a certain degree. And I've always wanted to, honestly, live and work on a sailboat. I've always wanted to do that before.
The man from Colorado wants to live and work on a sailboat.
Always been kind of a fantasy more than a goal. But I love that idea. Really,
freedom.
The freedom with it, right?
Freedom.
A few people I follow here and there, and I just love that idea. And so when I thought about that idea, and knowing that we were probably going to travel in the States, Canada to Mexico, more or less, for logistic reasons, traveling in an RV kept popping up. And it was an idea for a few years, and I never knew how to make it happen. And then one day we were living out on the East Coast, and it kind of just became a normal conversation. We talked about what would happen and what we would do if that happened. And my wife teaches in schools, and so there was a big gap in the summer, obviously, and we talked about just doing that, and that kind of changed over time too. But I just decided to buy a van and see what happens.
I love it. Well, a couple things to touch on, because you hit the nail on the head, and I see this a lot. It's like, be careful what you wish for. Everyone says, oh, I wish I worked remote so I could do this and do that and do this. But then they work remote, and working from home and remote, as you have discovered, is such a different thing. You go to the office, it's so regimented. All of a sudden, when you're at home, you have all this freedom, but you're also still tied to work. And some people have a hard time taking advantage of it, and it becomes kind of a stress. It's like, oh, well, I have this opportunity, but I'm not sure, like, how do I step away from my computer and not get in trouble? How do I just go out on that afternoon hike? Like, how do I let it go? It's easier said than done. It sounds like you found that out a little bit when you started working remotely.
Absolutely. I mean, at the beginning, I have that personality, especially with work, that I could work all the time. Really, I think the fantasy of a work-life balance people want to achieve with being remote. Not a big podcast about remote, but I think it's easy for, especially for myself, that I just worked all the time and got rid of that work-life balance.
Yeah, when I first started working for myself and working from home, I had such a hard time getting away from my computer. Mm-hmm. And then if I did go out, I was like obsessively checking my phone.
Yeah.
So I was kind of getting this freedom, but not really. I was still tied to it. Of course, that's better than going to the office, so it's a war of attrition in that way. But I just think it's interesting you bring that up, because it is a discipline to create that work-life balance, even if you work from home. Yeah. And I think that's important to say. So you moved from Colorado, you got married, you had this adventure, you go to the Carolinas, and I think that's awesome. She's a teacher, you're thinking about the summer, and that seems like a compromise for most people. It's like, hey, we'll get an RV or a van and just live for the summer. How did you know that wouldn't be enough for you? Like, why did you keep pushing to now you're just traveling all the time?
Yeah, it was really a combination of things. We decided that she wasn't going to teach anymore. at least for the short term, which opened up our calendar. And I just didn't love the just going for the summer. I wanted it to be something that we could do regularly. I guess I really wanted it to be not vacation, not like we were hoping for that day. We were just waiting for the summer to hit where we could get away from our lives and we could just go travel and do that thing for a short amount of time. I wanted it to be living while traveling together. And I didn't know what that would look like at all. But that's really what we were trying to do.
So you found a remote job that you could be detached from. Did you convince her to quit her job? I mean, I know she's doing it now, and we'll get to that later. But in those beginning stages,
no, it was 50-50. I was pushing, and she was, going through some career stuff, and we decided Wilmington, where we were in North Carolina, wasn't going to be a good fit for that season of life. And so it really was kind of an easy decision. There was things that led up to it, but just with, personal reasons, we just kind of fell into it.
Tell us about picking the van. You said RV. You don't have an RV. You have a van now. So walk us through that whole process and how you decided what to do there.
Well, I won't geek out on it too much, but I like to make spreadsheets, especially for personal decisions. I know, kind of weird. But we did a lot of research, as you can imagine.
Yeah, what did your spreadsheet say?
Yeah, so it was basically, I wanted to be mobile. I love to, I grew up in Colorado. I wanted to be able to get up on the mountains to a certain extent. I wanted it to be small enough that we could drive it as a couple and go into cities and not just deal with, you drive a big old RV, you have to go in truck stops and you have to deal with just all that kind of stuff. And so initially we looked at a lot of different ideas. Price was a factor. Absolutely. We looked at, there's only two of us, right? We don't have a lot of stuff. And so with mobility and price, we kind of fell into the van model, Sprinters, Transits, ProMasters, the selection. And then it got into what size we wanted, the biggest footprint we could. So we got the extended high roof Transit, trying to fit. We don't have much stuff, but we're both working in there eventually. And so having two office spaces, and then it came down to the Transit. We talked about, really came down to the Sprinter and the Transit for size. For people thinking about a Transit, the thing that I really liked was it came down to price and being able to fix it in case of emergency.
That's the Ford Transit?
Yeah.
So where was yours? Where did you? Most people I talk to, they're like, yeah, I had to drive to Idaho to get it, or Kansas City or somewhere.
Yeah, well, here's the fate of it. We were looking at it. We were talking for a couple months about what we would get. And no joke, we're in, eastern North Carolina, kind of looking within a driving radius of 4 Transits for that size, newer, less miles, etc., but used. And I was talking to a local dealership, and when we started to kind of say, let's make a decision if we're going to do this or not, the exact model we wanted showed up 5 miles down the road.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
How that happens.
So I showed up that morning. I knew it was coming in. It was on the truck. It was, on the semi. I waited until they got it off. I was not leaving until they sold me that van. It was not a good sales tactic.
Yeah, no.
But I was not leaving until I drove that thing home. It was a delivery van. They bought it from an auction.
Okay. So describe, you're 6'3".
Yep.
Okay. So you're a big guy.
Yep.
When I think, I've been in some people's vans and I can barely stand up inside. Yeah. So describe your van. Can you stand up in there?
I can. So it's with the roof, which is just a wood roof. It is about a little under 6'6".
Okay. So you got some room to spare.
Yeah. That was it. We had to get a high roof so we could stand up. And as we travel, I talk to a lot of people, and I see a lot of people that have the small vans, which is great, especially as you travel more. You can't get in a parking garage or a drive-through. With mine.
Yours.
Yeah.
Oh.
No Starbucks drive-throughs with the high roof Transit.
Well, you should walk inside anyway. Come on, don't be lazy. All right, so you can stand up inside. When you got it, it was a delivery van, so you had to build out the whole inside, I'm guessing.
A cargo van. So you can get a couple different types, but the cargo van we got there was nothing in it. not a grubby thing, just metal.
Okay, so how did you know how to outfit all this, and did you pay someone to do that? Did you do it?
Well, I thought I was pretty handy going into it, and quickly realized I wasn't. So I didn't. I built the whole thing, very slowly, very with a lot of errors, but yeah, just a little bit of research and buying materials, just piece by piece.
But can anybody do that? You make it sound so easy. I mean, you build out. What does that mean? Build out the inside of the van. You have to put a bed in there. You have to
Yeah.
put a kitchen.
Mhm.
Apparently, you have 2 office spaces in there
Mhm.
somehow. Excited to hear about that. Like, how'd you envision this, and how do you design it? Is this all on the internet?
Yeah, a lot of research, right? There's a couple sketch softwares that I like to do, and my initial sketches were much different than it ended up being. But yeah, it was nice because when we bought it, we still lived in a nice apartment, so I could kind of do it piece by piece, just top to bottom, as you can imagine. I put in floor and ceiling and in the ceiling, and then the walls, and then a cabinet here and there, and then we got partial office set up, and then built the bed. Because for the first couple trips, honestly, we just put a mattress on the ground and just
Yeah.
went for it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's like short term that works, but
Yeah.
to live in there, you need something a little more. So it's basically just going through on the internet for all the designs that already exist, figuring out what works for you, and then you're ordering kits, I'm guessing.
Combination of kits and just building as I went. There are so many kits out there you can buy. Yeah.
How long does it take to do that, to build out a whole van like that?
Well, it's taken me about 8 months.
8
but
months.
yeah,
Well,
just piece by piece.
Yeah, I mean, that seems reasonable.
I did the first big project, which was the foundation, in about a month and a half.
What does that mean, the foundation?
Walls and ceiling and bed and stuff like that.
So you have to put a floor, like you mean you have to redo the floor and the walls too.
The biggest thing to relate it to a house is there's no insulation, right? It's just a metal box. So you have to put insulation up, and you got to be particular about what you put in it because it's on the move, right? It's, I like to go.
And more weight, more gas,
Exactly.
etc.
Yeah.
Okay. So that process is probably pretty scary to most people as a barrier to entry, because finding the van is one thing. And I've heard stories from other friends, like I was saying, who had to drive all over to find the van they wanted. But then you get it and you feel like, okay, I got the van, but now you're nowhere close to even using it.
Yeah, you can't even use it yet.
You still have months and probably thousands of dollars ahead of you to build it out.
That was a rude awakening. Yeah.
You didn't know that before.
Well, I mean, I planned for some, but it seems like it's like working on a boat. Every time the word boat is attached to something, it's 3 times the amount.
I see.
Yeah.
Especially after the pandemic.
Oh,
because
yeah.
everyone went to van life.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Did you feel stressed during that? Was it just kind of one thing at a time?
Yeah, one thing at a time. No, not really stressed. Just, day by day trying to get it. First phase was really just livable at the bare necessities, like pre-running water, pre-toilet, just a roof over our head. And then that was kind of the first step. And then for us was just piecing it, one luxury at a time. My wife, she likes a toilet and running water.
Fair
Kind
enough.
of,
We all do. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. Did you have to sell her on this idea little by little? It doesn't really matter the gender. I'm sure there's a lot of partners out there where one is really keen on doing it and the other person needs some convincing. How did that all go down?
Well, I poked at her for a couple months, but honestly, she's great. She just kind of goes with the flow, and she enjoys traveling. But what did it was the first night or the first morning we woke up on the beach with the van right on the sand. She was sold after that sunrise.
Beautiful. Where was that?
So we did a little bit North Carolina, and then our last trip we went down the west coast of the states, top to bottom, and it was beautiful.
So before we get into some more practical questions, I have kind of a dummy question, and I know this is a dummy question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I'm just curious how you're going to respond. Do you feel with this van life and you're going this direction in your life, do you feel you were more running away from something or running towards something?
Yeah, really good question. I think it varies per person, but at this season of our lives, we're running towards something. Like, because we're blessed with remote work and, kind of just where we're at in our lives, we're looking for the next place we're actually going to live. And so I use travel as my excuse to look at all these places as potential homesteads. So I think it kind of varies. Sometimes we're running from places that we're ready to leave, um, but running towards in general.
I love that. So one day the van will be parked somewhere with a homestead.
Probably sadly, yeah.
Sadly. Well, you'll still use it as your rec vehicle,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm just interested in that because I was thinking a lot of people get so fed up with everyday life in modern society, and they're like, I just want to drop off the map, and they're kind of running away from that. And they're not necessarily running towards this goal. They're just sort of really pushing away what they have. But I've watched you through this process, and I feel like you've been in the middle, so I was just curious. You recognize that you needed change in your life, but you weren't necessarily going for this escapism. There was always this pragmatic aspect to it.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of the escapism, with the day-to-day, regular grind of what everyone deals with. But I think that wears off pretty quickly.
But what you said is so perfect about how you didn't want it to be something, oh, we do this from June through August, and like we suck it up as much as we can, and then it's out of our lives. That's what most travel is to people. They get 1 or 2 weeks per year, and it's just like that time that it's really sacred, but it's really not ingrained into their life. It's like an exception to their life.
Yeah, exactly.
So your wife quit the job. You were in North Carolina. You're not anymore. We're in Colorado right now. You're back visiting family for Christmas, holiday break. You don't have a home.
Mm-hmm.
You're homeless.
Mm-hmm.
And so you are essentially living in your van.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Well, it depends on where we're at. In Colorado, it's fairly easy because we have so much family here. And it's nice. If people build out their van differently, I did not build mine for the winter. I did the best I could with insulation, etc., but I built it to be on the coast. That's the lifestyle we enjoy the most. So I built it, in warm weather. So, in the winter in Colorado, as you can imagine, there's, some difficulties just to live in it.
Do you have a heater?
Yeah, I did put a heater in this summer.
Okay, so that
helps
takes
a lot.
care of everything.
Yeah, but you're in a metal box. And it was 12 degrees last night, right?
Did you sleep in the van last night?
Yeah, the whole time.
Oh,
yeah.
So you just park in front of your parents' house
Yeah.
and sleep in the van?
Yeah.
You just need your space.
Yeah, and it's also just like your bedroom. We have, you kind of get used to sleeping on a mattress and your pillows and all that kind of stuff. It's your own little space.
Describe how it's laid out
Yeah.
for the audience. So is your bed in the back near the double doors?
Yeah, so it's not a big space, so it's easy to describe. But the back half is a mattress, is a bed. So what I did is I used, which is a big decision people make, is to build it out of wood or metal. For the bed, it's only attached to the walls. There's no vertical support. So I decided to go with what they call extruded aluminum. Went with they call it 80/20. So I built the bed about 38 inches off the ground, more or less, enough room for storage, and then I could sit up in bed. So a bed in the back, and then the 2 swivel seats in the front, and then if you're looking off the bed into the front, the second desk is right off to the left side on the driver's side. Just a little desk setup.
So behind the driver's seat.
Yep.
Coming back towards the
Yeah,
bed.
but right by the bed. Yeah, right above the wheel well.
Well, everything's close.
Yeah, it is. You can reach it. And then
But how do you work in there? You do the driver and passenger seat turn around?
they do.
Oh,
I got a setup in there, man. You'd love to
I'm
see
going to
it.
come out and see it after. Yeah.
Monitor. So a lot of the work I do is just laptop work, and so I have monitors in there. And the biggest game changer is getting Starlink. Which is pretty normal.
Wait, you have multiple monitors in there?
I do. Yeah.
On the desk behind the driver's seat.
Yes.
Okay, so where does your wife work when she's in there?
So she either works in the passenger desk seat. We have a little lagoon table that pops up, or she works in the desk by the bed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that an adjustment?
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine.
Yeah.
When I get working, I like to yell.
Right, you're on the phone all the time, aren't you?
Yeah, not as much anymore, but
Okay.
for sure. and I like to yell when I'm doing, work activities for some reason. And she's teaching classes on Zoom, so it's
How does
loud.
how does that work? She's teaching a class on Zoom, and you're sitting next to her taking phone calls?
Yeah,
How
yeah.
can that work?
Well, we do noise canceling headphones, and I try to whisper, and
So you
we
both wear noise canceling headphones?
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Put up a curtain or whatever we can.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's close quarters, man.
yeah.
I didn't realize you were both working in there.
Mm-hmm.
You're literally every day from 9 to 5, both of you sitting in the van working?
Yep. Yep.
And where are you parked necessarily? Wherever?
Yeah, wherever. That's the luxury of a smaller unit like that. You can blend in. They call it stealth camping, right? You can park just about anywhere. I can fit in any normal parking spot. And with Starlink and other types of internet, we'll just stay wherever.
Give me an example of somewhere, or a couple examples of where you've been parking to work, because I'm just imagining you like in a Walmart parking lot with the doors shut and both of you in there. She's teaching a class to however many dozen students, and you're on sales calls.
Yeah, I mean, Walmart's great. That's a great spot.
So you have done it there.
Yeah, I mean, I could give you a list.
Give me the list.
My favorite spots are, or spots that are easy and typically safe: Walmart, Home Depot, Cracker Barrel. But I do try to avoid the cities as much as I can. I enjoy that more. Off the highway, state parks, national forest. Yeah, anywhere really. Yeah, what we have to decide when we're going to stop and work is there tree coverage? Honestly, like that's the biggest thing. Is it
get hot?
Yeah, well, is it a clear sky for the Starlink? For any people wondering, Starlink does not work when it's raining. Maybe Elon Musk can upgrade the unit I have.
It doesn't work when it's raining?
Yeah, it doesn't work when it's raining, and maybe not a surprise, it doesn't work in the Redwood National Forest.
Wow.
So figured that out the hard way.
But some of the places you were, like Southeast, for example, it rains all the time.
Yeah.
So wasn't that very difficult to do?
You have to use the other backup we have is cell phone hotspots, cellular service.
And she can connect to a full Zoom using that?
Yeah, we got the setup.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so to your layout question, I'll finish that up. We have the kitchen on one side, and then we have the storage on the other side. And
behind the bed.
Between the bed and the front seats.
Oh, so your storage is basically blocking your in and out?
Nope. So it's one wall is, countertop, table, storage.
Driver's side.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I'm in the build, so it's TBD. But then the other side will be the kitchen, sink, water, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So you have a sink in there now?
I do not, but it's gonna be quick.
And a toilet?
Yep.
You have a toilet.
We do have a toilet. We're fancy now.
Is it flush?
It does not flush.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like a bedpan?
Between a bedpan and a flushing toilet, right there in the middle somewhere.
It's like a river toilet or something.
Yeah,
that
basically.
You would use on like a rafting trip.
Bags and etc.
Yeah.
But honestly, that was a big worry. Honestly, like when we made the list of things that were important to us, the toilet situation and the shower situation, we don't have a shower in ours. And we thought a lot about that. We decided to travel for a little bit to decide if we actually wanted to invest in it. That kind of stuff becomes less of a priority. Not like I'm not saying we don't shower often or not, but, another thing that we do a lot is Planet Fitness, which is very normal in the van life travel. There's a Planet Fitness everywhere. It's an easy reason to go work out and shower. And we just make do with it. And it saves a lot of space.
Maybe you could get one of those like surf showers. You ever see those? Like people just build a PVC pipe and fill that with water.
Yeah, yeah.
But then you're doing that in like a Home Depot parking lot or something.
Yeah.
Planet Fitness is a good idea. When I lost water here for 3 days because of the break, I was showering at the gym. It's a legit excuse. But I got a few things I got to get clarity on here. First off, if you're using let's say you're both working and you're parked at a Walmart, I guess you could go inside and use the bathroom, but you have the toilet for a reason. So are you guys just like blowing it up while you're working in the middle of the day?
We try to avoid it.
Okay.
There are certain lines we've tried to draw.
You guys have ground rules?
We try. But, sometimes you got to, take care of business. And so, it's just, we just handle it as it goes.
You're very close with your wife.
Yeah, it's been if you're a couple and you want to forcefully grow in a relationship, move into a van together.
Or just put it to the test and end
Yeah.
it as quick as you can.
You'll find out your partner pretty quickly.
I can imagine the van life where you're parked on a scenic cliff and looking over the beach and yada yada. But do you ever just laugh when you're in a Home Depot parking lot with the door open, sitting in the blazing sun, working, and you're like, okay, this is what I'm doing?
Yeah.
You know?
It happens often. Yeah, more. I love to talk about parking on the beach or hitting all the national parks or when we went to Canada, but you got to get there, and it's a lot more than you'd expect.
Is it hard to find spots to park along the way?
Well, I'm an expert now. There's a lot of great apps out there, and I can talk about those if that's important. But
what do you use? Tell us.
Yeah, so I think the major apps right now are Harvest Host, which is paid. That's great. That's a lot of fun.
What's that? $20 a night? $30 a night?
Harvest Host is $100 and something a year, and then you go on the app and you request. And so there's a lot of options: golf courses, breweries,
wineries here do it.
Wineries, residential, farms. We've stayed at a lot of really cool farms and ranches along the way. You just request a couple days ahead and you park on their property. Harvest Host is fun, but you have to plan it ahead. The Dirt is a great free, or it's a paid resource, but it shows you all the free sites, kind of like a community thing. And then the best app probably for people in this space is Overlander. Everyone probably has heard about that. It's basically you just go on and review spots. You stay in, you can take some photos and make some comments. And it's been around so a while that there's so many details about spaces throughout the states.
That's so nice people do that, because when I go camping or backpacking or wherever, or I'm camping in my truck and I find a good spot, I don't want to tell anyone about it.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad there are people out there who are better than me.
Yeah.
Harvest Hosts, the idea of a farm and everything, but you say like people's houses. Could I just have people park in my driveway?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And people would do that?
We did that a lot in urban California.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're just parked in someone's driveway.
Exactly.
Do you get access to anything?
The one of the places we stayed at, really great guy. He gave us access to power, but typically not.
Okay. It's not like, hey, come in the backyard and no, it's just. So what do you do like when you pull up to someone's house like that and you're sleeping in their driveway? You just pull up and you're just in the van the whole night. I guess you have the toilet. You can cook in there.
Yeah, so we have
keep it down.
We got plenty of water. We have a cook set up. We use a Blackstone, which is great in that space. And the really nice thing, which I didn't know about it going into it, we put up shades and a curtain, and it's your own little oasis, really. Like, you really get comfortable in your own little space there. You don't know, you always kind of hearing what's going on outside, especially new places, but it's not an issue.
And how much would you pay to park in someone's driveway?
Well, for Harvest Host, it's free. Harvest Host is free each night. You just pay for the subscription.
So what do the hosts get paid? How do they get paid?
I think they might get a little kicker, but everyone that I've met is just kind of like an old traveler. Like they ended up moving, into a place, so they don't travel and they just love the interaction.
Okay.
Sometimes they sell stuff. Golf courses are kind of the worst. That would be the thing I would say Harvest Host should update. Like golf courses, you have to do a round of golf. And I don't know, like I don't pack clubs around in the van.
Okay. So you know what? Now this is ringing a bell because I think some of the wineries here in Palisade, they don't charge, but it's kind of understood that you'll come in and have a glass of wine or buy a bottle of wine or something like that.
Which is, easy to convince me, but
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, it gives you the experience.
Yeah.
I mean, not only do you get a place to park that is safe, but then you can have this quote unquote local experience by checking out the brewery or the winery or whatever. And you don't have to drive after you drink.
Yeah. And I love those type of things because when you travel long term, or we've been only going since, roughly, spring of 2025, it, becomes routine. And for me personally, I kind of need sometimes to get that idea to do something, like going, wine tasting or something. So it's a good it's a good mix of it.
What do you mean you're not motivated otherwise?
Well, for us, you know, there we kind of get used to doing so many things that something new is nice to pop up. And because for me, I plan all the travel, right, and where we're gonna stay, which we should talk about, um, when planning ahead and not planning ahead. I think that's a good
Okay.
thing to talk about. But just always getting ideas. I guess in general, just like trying new things is always. And for harvest hopes, it's good because you're there. It's an easy thing to try.
You just have travel fatigue a
That's
little bit. I
exactly
mean, I
right.
experienced that. I get that. Like you've kind of done it a little bit, and so you just feel like you need that extra
Yeah.
motivation. Maybe is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. The motivation piece, and I'd love to ask you about that. So, as you do travel, because I was thinking about our conversation about traveling in a vacation, because the career that you have, you do travel so often, maybe to more a place more often than not, but you do travel in new places often. Do you ever vacation?
Great question. I don't think so. Well, I do. You know what? Backpacking. Like
Okay.
that's my vacation.
Okay.
When I'm getting out into the woods, when I'm away from my computer, no cell service, everything I need for that experience is with me. I was just telling you before we came on about the canoe trip I did in the Everglades back in November. It's just when I'm off the grid, I can do what you people call vacation,
Yeah.
where it's just relax and don't worry about anything and put your feet up, have a drink, whatever. Backpacking's still a lot of work, but I think that's what makes it good for me because I'm not something changed inside of me at some point in my life. When I was younger, I could sit on the couch all day, let's say watch football on Sunday. I could just put my feet up and not move for 10 hours and be perfectly fine and think that
Mhm.
was like a very rewarding experience. Somewhere along the lines, that's changed for me. It's very difficult. So I have that working against me where I'm not good at just like sitting still. And because of my job and traveling and being a travel writer specifically, I'm so used to going somewhere and trying to detect, okay, what's the story here? Like I'm always evaluating the information coming in. I'm always looking for that new nugget, something that I could write about that would earn me money or earn me credibility or whatever. So it is very difficult. So only when I'm away from the technology and only when I feel like I'm totally out of society can I relax now.
Okay.
So a lot of times when I travel personally, I try and work that in. Maybe I'm not backpacking, maybe I'm in Europe, but I'm like, okay, I want to spend all day in the mountains. Like I want to spend my time out and about. I want to spend my time on a canoe, in the ocean, wherever, surfing, where I'm not focused on any of that. But it's hard.
Mm.
I don't know if you felt a change in yourself since you started with this.
No, well, not particularly in that regard. I mean, we, plan destinations and then, try to travel pretty slowly to that spot.
So you would consider yourself vacationing or traveling?
Vacation, good question. So, vacationing to me right now is when we come home for the holidays. That's a vacation. When I travel, I work. So for me, it's when I'm working or not. So similar, with the technology piece, but I haven't done van life long enough that I've, kind of grew weary of the constant going. Yes, there are times, when, we did a couple month trip, that, you kind of get weary, but yeah, vacation is when I'm, especially like that.
These words are hard because I mean we've talked about this for years. Like my whole thing is travel versus vacation, and there's difference between the two people. But even it's more complicated than that because vacation we've been marketed as this like I feel like in the U.S. especially it's like find your beach,
Hmm.
like a Corona commercial. It's like
Yeah.
to vacation is to totally just like lounge on the beach, do nothing, get drunk, whatever. That doesn't resonate with me anymore.
Yeah.
Vacation now I just like, okay, how do I relax? Okay, how do I relax? And to your point, when you're traveling in your van and headed somewhere, you don't want to relax because you want to experience everywhere you're going. You want to plan for the next day. You're working to kind of fund this adventure in your van. You're trying to see as many sights as you can, make as many stops as you can. That's effort, that's work, that's not relaxing. So to me, that's more traveling. Is it rewarding? Yes, but it's not this resting idea of vacation that we've been sold that it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes a lot to get used to. I haven't experienced a lifestyle like yours where it's traveling and also thinking about work in the story aspect. I'm always working almost to travel, along the way, and it's something that's kind of pushing along the way, you know.
But you're different in the sense that I'll go for a week and come home. I'll go for 2 weeks, come home. Like I'm always kind of coming back to this home base, and you are just on the road full time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a totally different energy, totally different way of thinking.
Yeah.
One of the previous guests on my podcast, Joe Flynn, he was traveling the world when he came on. He just got back. He was on the road for 2 years, and I didn't have him on again yet, but we were having a conversation the other night, and he just talked about how tiring it was, and how just travel's a lot of work. I had a nickel for everybody that told me, oh, you have the dream job. I couldn't, I would give anything to have your job, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, I look at him, I'm like, you wouldn't last 2 months. It's so much more effort to travel and to maintain that energy on the road than people realize.
Yeah.
That it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but it's work.
Yeah.
It's work.
Yeah. No sugarcoating. It's work.
Yeah. It's work, man. Like when I think of you living I could never do van life. I could do short term, okay, like take a trip, do this, but yeah. Tell me more about it. So tell me about your planning. You said you do a lot of planning and there's stuff in that involved.
Yeah. It started on one spectrum and it's on the complete opposite almost now. One of the questions that I get often, especially from maybe older family, is where do you stay every night? And initially, that was a worry. Always planning where we're going to stay ahead, like a week in advance, like the exact parking spot and where in a city, because our travels have consisted currently of we'll travel pretty slowly. I think there's an old RV rule out there, something like 333 or 222, I can't remember. 3 hour, don't travel more than 3 hours a day, 300 miles a day, and get to your parking spot before 3 p.m. or something like that. I heard about that before we started. And it been keeping that in the back of my mind. But because we work full time, we only travel a few hours a day. Sometimes we'll do big days on the weekend, etc. Because we don't travel very quickly, it's I don't have to plan out that far ahead. And so initially it was booking a site at an RV park or a state park or national park, etc. But as of lately, that worries kind of went away. Yes, there are times in LA that we have to book a campsite, or there are times where it doesn't make sense to maybe not risk it, but what really comes down to my situation, with my wife, safety is a big thing. Like, that I'm always trying to keep in the back of my mind. So as I look at the next week, where do I need to book something? But I'll give you an example. We did a trip, and I can probably talk about it if you want, but it was about 2 months up to Canada, down the West Coast, and back to Colorado. And out of, I don't remember how many days, let's say, 60 days or so, I paid for, I don't know if I should be proud or not of it, but I paid for, I think, 7 spots, like, paying for a space to stay that night, whatever it was. And majority of those are like national parks, because you can't, stealth camp in a national park. Being a cheapskate's probably part of it, but also getting used to staying where we end up that night and just getting comfortable with that. And also we did get kicked out of, or asked to leave a spot 3 times.
Okay, great, because that was on my list to ask you.
But it was only Walmart parking lots.
Because some Walmarts don't do it?
Yeah, like the outlet malls typically, that kind of stuff. And honestly, it was only on the West Coast. I've never had it happen anywhere outside of the West Coast.
So what does it mean when you get kicked out? Like, are you already asleep at night, or do they come out early enough where you're still awake and they're like, "Hey, it looks
No,
like you're."
never.
No, they like.
It's after midnight, always, late. And what happens is it's probably different for a different situation, but in those types of times we went, it's a security guard because they're worried about whatever, and they come and bang on the door and say, "Hey, you can't stay here."
And that's it.
That's it.
Do you even open the door, or you're just like, "Okay, we'll leave"?
I don't open the door ever. Right.
Security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll just leave. I actually got pretty accustomed to staying up late in urban places just for that reason.
Yeah, don't you find that stressful?
Not anymore. Yeah, initially it was, and people in van life talk about the dreaded knock. So we have experienced it, but I would take that any day for what we do.
Yeah, I guess relative to other worries and
Yeah.
other things in life. You've seen my truck. I got the camper shell on the Tacoma, and I got the carpet back there. So I've camped in the back of there a number of times, usually in national forests. When I do road trips, I just drive national forest to national forest. Don't need reservations. You can get an actual campsite if you want in there, but you can also just free camp. So that's what I do. But one time I was going up through the Upper Peninsula in northern Michigan. You got to go up there if you
Okay.
haven't, man. It's so beautiful. Combination of lakes and forests and farmland. Gorgeous. I was kind of stealth parking illegally, let's say, but yeah, just in these like little, they have all these parks along the lakes, but they're not like big parks. They're just like small municipal parks. And it's great. You're like right there on the beach. It's like, okay, why
Mhm.
not? And, I'm stealth, quote unquote, because I'm just laying down on the back of my pickup truck and no one can see. Man, I never got in trouble, but I didn't sleep at all those nights.
Yeah.
I just would wake up every hour. Every time someone drove by, I'd be like, oh man, I'm about to get kicked out.
Mhm.
And just the worry of it weighed on me, I guess. For the one thing, just wasn't getting proper sleep that I wanted. And I just didn't like the feeling. Like, I'm not doing anything wrong. Okay, they're going to knock on the door and tell me to leave. It's not that big a deal. But there's something to it. It feels so much bigger than that. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe you can articulate it, but it's like,
Well, after the third time of experiencing it, I think it goes away. After you know what to expect. Now, it was never outside of, like I said, a Walmart parking lot, but yeah, we just kind of plan around it. There are certain places that you might deal with that or not. Now, we don't stay much time in places like DC or big cities. That's not really how we travel. But I think with anything, you just kind of get used to it and know the consequences.
but you've parked, say, like on a DC city street just as a normal parallel parker, and then you can just see that's an advantage. You got the van. My truck, like I got to get out of the back,
Yeah.
and I'm laying down. So I always feel like getting rolled up on in that situation is more vulnerable because now, like you're in your van. You have protection of the walls. They can't see you because you've got the windows blocked.
Hmm.
You can stand up, and you just kind of like feel that, like you're ready. You're defensive. Like they don't know what you've got in there. For me, they can see into the
Yeah.
pickup.
Yeah.
Like I can't stand up. I've only got 3 feet of room in there,
Mm.
if that. So if someone rolls up and knocks, I have to get out. I'm vulnerable as I get out.
Yeah. That's
So it
exactly
just
right.
doesn't feel as good
Mhm.
to me. Like I just worry about it more.
Makes sense. 100%. Stealth camping is so underrated. So underrated
As a good thing.
as a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Like what you can do, we've had some pretty sweet stealth camping spots.
Like where?
A lot, we do mostly the coast of the states, but just along the beach,
Mm.
and places that, along the way. And it's perfect. And you nailed it. Putting up the shades. Our van is not as decked out on the outside as a lot of people. Like, we don't have a roof rack and we don't have stuff off the back. So we're between fully decked out and work van.
Okay.
So we can maybe skirt the line a little bit. What I need is to put a big old sticker on the side.
Yeah,
like-
like Don's Construction.
Yeah, or like
something.
Baird's Burritos, or something.
Totally. Where it just look. That's actually not a bad idea. I'm
Yeah.
sure people have done that. But when you say a stealth camping spot, like on the beach, for example, people see your truck. Like if
Mhm.
you're in a parking lot or something,
Yeah.
but they don't bother you because they think that you're like, are you allowed to park overnight there?
More or less, sometimes.
It's really an enforcement thing, I'm guessing. Like some
I,
places have the resources to do it, and
I
some don't.
think people that travel like we do, you know, don't write me on this, but I think we worry more about it than we should ever worry about it.
About what?
About where we can't stealth camping
Enforce
and
getting the knock of doom or
yeah,
the dreaded knock.
yeah, exactly. I think it's a bigger worry than people should actually give it credit for.
Because most of the time you'll get away with it,
Yeah,
most likely.
and just live on the edge a little bit.
Fair. Okay, fair enough. Well, dude, I mean, you're living way on the edge. Your van life. We'll get back to your 2-month trip, but just to share one thing that's on this topic. Last fall, I started renting out the house on Airbnb. You know that, and I got my schedule all screwed up. So originally, I was going to leave the Friday night when the guests were checking in, but my flight got bumped to the next morning.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I need to spend a night somewhere, and I didn't want to ask any friends for a favor because I don't know, I was feeling like kind of cheap and I didn't want to like bring them anything and just go through all that. I had to leave for the airport at like 5 a.m. So I'm like, okay, I'll just sleep in the truck. No problem. But I didn't think about it soon enough. And I was like, okay, well, if I go up to the Mesa, like I don't have cell service if something happens with the guests and yada, yada. So I'm brainstorming all these places I can, stealth camp in my truck. And I go down to one of the parks here
Yeah.
and I pull in there and I'm like, okay, let me just feel it out. And I have the tailgate down. I'm like sitting on it, eating dinner, like nothing's even arranged in the back yet, the mattress. And sure enough, like right at sunset, a cop rolls into the parking lot, drives through. He's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, well, I'm just having my dinner. He's like, you're not staying here, are you? And, told me that I couldn't stay and then I got to go. It's after dark. The park closes dark. I'm like, okay, well, I live here. I'm just hanging out. Okay. So then I got like nervous. I'm like, oh God, well the cops are on patrol here, in this little small town. Where am I going to go? Funny enough, I remembered my buddy. I'm like, oh yeah, he went to Moab this weekend. So I sent him a message, which of course he didn't receive because he's in Moab and there's no service. But I just backed my truck right into his driveway and got out, climbed in the back and just slept in the back. And
Yeah.
turned out to be, he didn't care. I got a little sense of what like the urgency of, because I always thought, like, if I ever did van life, like, why plan anything? You're in the van. You can stay anywhere. Like, what's the point of planning? I always kind of raised my eyebrow at van life people that told me they did all this planning. But just that one night in my own town that I knew very well, I got super stressed. And maybe because I knew it too well. Maybe if I didn't know any better, I just would have been more carefree about it, and that's fine. Took me several hours. Like I ended up pulling out around the corner from my house and just like sitting there for a half hour thinking about who I could text. I was in this limbo. Have you ever been in that limbo?
Oh, yeah.
A lot?
Especially early on.
Really?
Yeah, like I mentioned, that was my biggest fear, let's say, or worry going into the adventure was, like how we got to work and survive and all the essentials, but where are we going to stay? And I'll, from being on this side of that short amount of time, it's so easy. And I know that for me, it was a worry at the beginning, but you just get used to it. I think it's really like anything. You just kind of start realizing certain things about certain places and cities and towns, and then you can kind of navigate better. Here's a good way to think about it. Truckers have to stay at places. Where do, semis stay?
At gas stations.
Yeah, truck stops, pull-offs. And that was kind of a thing that helped me think more like that. But it's not a worry anymore, to be honest.
I know, but you realize the irony that a lot of people feel when it's like, okay, I'm living the dream van life. Okay, where'd you stay last night? I was at the gas station with the truckers. Like, it's just like there's a little bit of the life that is unpolished. Let's say.
Yeah, it's not glamorous. Let's not sugarcoat it. Especially, we're not, balling and have a luxury, van or anything, but it's not amazing every second.
Walk us through a typical day. Let's say you wake up in someone's driveway in LA and it's a Monday and you both have to work. What do you do?
It varies. I'll give you a boring day. We'll drive to a Planet Fitness. We'll make some coffee. We'll work, take a break, go work out, shower, work through the rest of the afternoon, and then we'll leave the city. We'll drive as long as we can, an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours that night to our next spot.
So Planet Fitness is a good hack for you guys.
It's the best.
That's perfect.
$25 a month for 2 people.
And you can get into any. Wait, $25 a month for 2 people?
Yeah, and it's anywhere, any location. And I should probably make like a review site. I'm probably like top 10 on how many people that have traveled to Planet Fitnesses. People have probably blown me out of the water, but we've been to a lot, especially, we've done a lot in the States, but they're even in Canada. So we went to a bunch in Canada, or a fair amount in Canada, and they're perfect.
What's the sketchiest spot you remember staying?
Sketchiest spot. For all our California listeners, California was tough. Yeah, that
Which
was
is
tough.
funny because you would think it'd be the most,
Yeah, it was strict. I also think it's because California is so beautiful and the weather's so nice, everybody goes there.
Yeah.
And then more people create more problems with regulations and authority and et cetera. But California was the toughest. Yeah, by far.
Because you can't just park at any beach park there, right? They
No.
probably have no overnight stuff. And so you ended up literally just in the city streets of LA
Yeah,
or in someone's driveway, for example.
yeah, exactly.
That's so wild.
Cracker Barrel's great. Also, to mention, like I think I said, Home Depot. Like some of those big chains are great for that.
Home Depot lets you stay overnight?
Yeah, most of the time.
Really? So what time will you get there? Do you try and get there later when the store's closed, or do you just roll up during business hours?
Sunset-ish. Yeah, try to get there in the light to gauge the surroundings, etc. But, yeah.
The bathroom's key then.
Yeah.
Because I always think of van life, just Yosemite and Yellowstone and national park to national park, pee outside, whatever. But if you're in the city and no bathroom,
Yeah, you can't do that.
especially if you're in a Home Depot.
Yeah, but having a bathroom in the van is pretty important. I wouldn't say it's the most important thing, but it's definitely up there.
What is the most important thing?
For us, getting a nice night's sleep was top of the list. So we put a lot of resources in that.
How? What?
A really nice mattress, really, plenty of space. We ended up building our bed perpendicular to the back. So I put what they call bump outs or flares so that I had enough room head to toe.
Because you wouldn't fit laying across the van otherwise.
No, I think it's less than 6 foot, maybe 5'10".
So how do you fit?
Bump outs.
Oh, the bump out pushes out the wall?
About 7 inches.
That's a key indicator that there's a bed in there.
Exactly. That's the one giveaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'd have to know that.
Yeah.
Okay. So nice mattress, enough space
Yeah.
for you, obviously.
And then internet.
Air conditioning?
Yeah, air conditioning. We initially put a fan at the front of it, towards the front, for circulation, for cooking primarily. Some people use a max air fan. We did the nomadic air fan, which I'm happy with. And then I put a big old AC unit in the back because we like to stay at warmer climates.
Is that fun, Monday through Friday? Just sort of living this life, working in the small van and maybe going department store to department store with just, the 3 hours of driving. This time of year, it might be doing it in the dark sometimes. So
we typically don't drive at night.
Okay.
That's something that we don't do. We basically plan, depends on the type of trip, but let's talk about that one.
You started here in Colorado?
Started here, yeah.
Okay.
And we will plan it based on destinations. So similar to you, I enjoy, scenic, a lot of national parks. So we'll base it based on, what kind of outdoor areas we want to go to. But yeah, based on a normal schedule, it varies. Sometimes work is a lot more, a lot less. My wife just recently started her job, her remote position. Before that, she was on, let's say, unpaid sabbatical for 3-4 months. So it was a lot easier. But yeah, you bring up a good point. I think that's exactly why I would say what we're doing is not a vacation. Like when I come back to Colorado and especially for holidays, etc., like there's not a lot of relaxing, let's say, when we're traveling in the van. Like it's I have the excuse of trying to pick areas we want to live, but I also just enjoy that constant new experience with new places.
Even if it's just the new Home Depot in the next
Yeah,
town.
you can't hate on Home Depot, you know.
I'm just teasing you. I mean, I just am trying to it's just so easy to romanticize it. I think I'm just trying to do the opposite and just think of that day-to-day grind and just how much that would wear on you. I mean, there must be such an allure to this otherwise that empowers you through it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the thing to note too is, I don't know the percentage, but we're only in those urban environments for maybe 25% of the time.
Check it out.
What it is two reasons. If we're having to pass through that city or we need supplies, that's when we'll hit those types of areas.
Okay.
Most of the time, our driving is based on outside of cities, out in the countryside.
Do you ever get worried? Because I guess all people might worried about getting their car stolen or something, but for you, it's literally your home.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a little bit more of an anxiety, especially in city, about you have all this, expensive setup and everything?
Yeah, I'm, let's say, well equipped.
Okay.
So I'm less worried.
Yeah, but what if you're not at the van, for example?
Yeah, well, that's for sure. I mean, I'm very particular with that. Oh, I think it's always a worry. It becomes a little less, but based on the place, yeah, because we got a lot of resources in that.
How would you describe when you first thought about doing this and thought about working in the van to, because I work on the road, so I know it's an adjustment. You're getting in a new place and you have to kind of resettle and get yourself, but I'm working in a hotel, so it's kind of easy for me.
Yeah.
I make a cup of coffee and open the shades and it's like, okay, cool. I'm comfortable. For you, I got to go see this. I can't imagine you have multiple monitors in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, I'll be fine working in here. And now when you sit there, are you truly fine? Is it like a good workspace for you?
I basically took the office I had at our home and I duplicated it. One of the very first things I did with the build was making sure I could work effectively. And so I did put a lot of attention into the work area. So I was just talking with a colleague a little bit ago if I felt I was as focused and productive, and I feel like I am more now because it's all in one space. Now, back to what we said earlier, that can turn into not having a good work-life balance, but it's great all in one place. And the funny thing that I really enjoy about it is everywhere I go, I'm self-sufficient. Yes, we aren't, it's not a fully built out van and et cetera. It's not super luxury, but, I do have everything I need anywhere we go to a certain degree, which is a nice feeling. Now we could talk forever about, things like apocalypses and natural disasters and being able to, bug out pretty quickly, but it's a good feeling for me.
Yeah. I mean, I had an RV for a while. Mine was way too big, so it was stressful.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys split up the work duties, because I'm sure there's a lot of tasks that have to be done every day to keep the van going. For me, it was a lot. I had an RV that had a whole bedroom in the back. It was 28 feet. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of work and just a lot of systems to keep track of, a lot of maintenance all the time. So I was like, I'll come back to this when I'm retired.
Yeah.
Like when I can truly, because it's a full-time job just keeping track of that. Now maybe the van I'm guessing that's quite less work than an RV.
We've also minimalized our lifestyle a lot. We've really started to get down to the bare bones of exactly what makes us happy, and that has been becoming less and less. And so
that's awesome. Explore that.
Yeah.
What did you discover?
Well, it first started with, here's exactly how much space we have for that part of our life. It's 2 feet by 2 feet. So what can we do? I think one of the biggest things was stuff. Don't laugh too much, but I only pack around a small wardrobe. I only have a few outfits. That's necessity.
Like what? Tell us what you have exactly.
I have a suit.
You have a suit in there?
Yeah.
Really?
Let's start with things that we
You take
need.
your van to funerals and weddings too? You're like, I'm ready.
You never know when you need to go to a wedding.
You're right, man. You're right.
So in my work, I get the privilege of doing work events and stuff and that kind of stuff. So that is one thing I have to have for work is
So
a
you have
suit.
the suit in there.
But I got 2 pairs of pants. I got a handful of the essentials. I got a couple of shirts, some jackets, and that's it. You know, it does limit the gear I can have because I would put myself maybe a less category than you substantially, but I am a gearhead to a certain degree. um, but I think clothing is a big piece now. With a spouse.
Yeah, has she committed to this?
She's working on it.
Okay.
Let's say she's doing a lot better. She's maybe not typical, but she likes the shoes and et cetera. And so she's getting better at that.
See, I would thrive in that because I basically live that lifestyle now. And I only have like 3 shirts I wear.
I think the biggest thing is food.
Yeah, what do you eat? Are you eating ramen?
No ramen. For us, we have a particular diet based on circumstances, but we don't have a full fridge in there, obviously.
You have a mini fridge?
We have you would say a mini fridge.
Like a college dorm kind of fridge?
It's a, to be specific, I have a Dometic cooler, and then I also have a similar freezer. So 2 different units.
What's Dometic mean?
That's a brand.
Okay.
That's we went with, if people were looking into that. And we've loved them. They're power efficient, etc. But it's only 2 feet by a foot. I mean, it's small. Let's say a mini fridge size. And quickly you have to decide what is going to be enough, and also not having to restock. Now, for me personally, I eat mostly protein. So we have the freezer full of protein. And we just get down to the bare bones. We do a lot of hibachi style, some veg and some protein on the Blackstone, and we're great.
The Blackstone?
Yeah.
What's that? A grill?
Yeah, it's a grill. Yep. It's have you ever seen those flat top? I'm probably butchering it. Just a flat top grill.
Okay. Is it propane?
It's propane.
So you light propane inside the van?
Yep.
Isn't that extremely dangerous?
We have a fan that circulates the air, but yes, probably.
Do you do it with the door open?
No, the fan's sufficient.
Are you sure?
Yeah. So far, I mean, we're a couple months in and we haven't died.
Because I know, like, one of the big things with tent camping is that people will cook in their vestibules, which is fine, like on a rainy day. But if you don't ventilate it properly and, like, you have a draft coming back to you, even in a tent, you can kill yourself or at least, like, pass out, in theory.
The heater is the thing to worry about, the CO2 levels. So we have your normal monitor and stuff like that, but we have had no issues.
Oh, you have like a carbon monoxide monitor and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So you do mostly hibachi with veggies just on the grill.
Yep.
Dude, that sounds so good.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Cooking in it, we don't have an incredible kitchen yet. So to your point about keeping all the systems going, I do have an unbelievable wife that kind of manages a lot of that stuff for us. I manage how much power do we have, where are we going, if we're safe, working, that kind of stuff. And she does a great job managing, our food levels and, what we're eating. And we try to tackle cleaning together. But honestly, I mean, I don't know how big the living space is, but it gets messy quickly, but it's also easy to clean quickly.
Dude, that's so good to hear, man, because you guys have divided the task well. And it seems like it just naturally unfolded that way. Yeah. Part of my problem with the RV was that my partner was not invested in the experience beyond them just having a good time.
Yeah.
Which, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Whether you're camping, RVing, van lifing, there is amount of overhead tasks that need to happen for everything to keep moving and to stay fun. And if only one person is doing it, for a short time that can work, but it just cannot. It must have really brought you guys together.
Yeah, it brings out, the true character and the qualities of someone. And then we ended up picking, I think, a good pair for it. But yeah, it's not easy. I would not say if you're looking for a vacation and an easy lifestyle, decide to do something like that.
Yeah, what do you think of all these like van life? I just quit all social media for the whole year. I've been off. Actually, I started in early 2025. I'm about 3 months in now. Couldn't recommend it more. It's the best. But I remember when I was on seeing all these van life accounts that really romanticize van life with, all the rugs and just like making it so fancy dancy. Do you encounter a lot of those people? Like, is that, or what do you think of that presentation of van life?
Yeah, I mean, I have some, strong opinions like you, but
Let's hear 'em.
I'm actually, I think maybe we discussed it earlier, but I also don't do social media.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
realize that.
yeah, so
Thought you were. I know you didn't post, but I thought you were a creeper.
yeah,
Like,
like
those
most
people
people,
that don't post, but they still go on and look at
Yeah.
other people's stuff.
Yeah. For work, I have to stay in touch a little bit. But yeah, I don't, I've had many questions. Why don't you guys try to monetize that? And I think that brings in, we could talk forever about the side effects of social media. But I think it's a time suck, and I think it's a mood swing enabler. And yeah, to each their own. But I don't enjoy it or spend much time on it.
But were you under the impression, because of that kind of marketing and material, social media or otherwise, that this van life was going to be super glamorous? And did you have like any rude awakening when you first started it?
Well, I think, those people in those situations, I don't condemn them. They're trying to make money, but, glamour sells, obviously, right? And, you almost have to do that in order to.
But they're lying.
Yes, for sure.
Like,
I mean, yeah, I think some people maybe don't have the workload that we do, and they can, maybe more vacation travel like that. But that's not what we have seen. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I wouldn't have given up this last season of life for much. It was great, but it's not easy.
yeah, because everyone I see in media just glamorizes it.
Yeah.
And maybe you're right. Maybe there's people that just do that presentation for social media's sake, for money, for attention. Maybe there are people who aren't working and they're just cruising and they have the time to do this kind of stuff. But from what you're describing, it doesn't sound very glamorous at all. Sounds a lot like backpacking, like really high peaks of excitement and enjoyment mixed in with, all the grind of just like of kind of making it happen.
I had somebody ask recently over the holidays, why do we do that? And so I really, why are we experiencing this type of lifestyle? And I thought a lot about it, and it really came down to the freedom that comes with it. Being able to go where we want, stay where we want, and experience what we want on our timeline.
Have you gotten a lot of those questions?
Yeah, it's one of those unique decisions where people typically think you're a little crazy. And why would you do something like that, right? Like your questions, like, why are you sleeping in a Home Depot parking lot? I think it's one of those decisions that I think it's becoming more normal, but I get the question a lot.
I bet. I mean, I think it fascinates people. I also think that I'm asking these questions because I'm your friend and we're sitting here and I'm curious because I've dabbled and yada, yada. I think a lot of people who are just sort of approaching it from an outsider's perspective, they're probably curious, to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I think there's also people ask those questions like, why would you do that? Because they're protecting themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you get that sense? Like they probably want to be doing it, but haven't made the life choices to do it. And so they kind of got to make it seem like unappealing.
That's exactly right.
So they don't feel bad about not doing it.
Oh, that's exactly right. I think that goes with all goals and dreams that we don't hit in our life. We end up pushing them to the side and, lowering those in our own subconscious.
I mean, I've tried to get away from that. I definitely saw that in my younger self, especially with when I would meet writers who wrote for, I'd be like, oh yeah, I write for National Geographic. And I'd be like, psh. In my head, I'd be like, that magazine sucks. It's, I'd come up with all these reasons why, and maybe it wasn't National Geographic, but just to use that as an excuse, come up with all these reasons why that publication sucked and why I didn't want to write for them anyway. But, if the next year I met the editor, I'd be on my knees begging to write for him. It's just, I think it's a little bit of ego that we go through.
Yeah.
And I've tried to get away from that to just be more curious.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, if the information you're telling me doesn't resonate with me, it's like, cool, that's still an awesome experience for you.
Yeah.
I try and reflect that back to the person, not just be like, geez,
yeah,
Ted, what are you doing,
yeah.
man? Like, and making you feel self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
Do those questions bother you?
Not anymore. I mean, maybe for the first couple of weeks, but I think I'm at a place in my life, like you're talking about, where I made the decision to try this because I thought it would be we would get the results that we wanted. And no, not a big deal anymore.
I got to imagine when you're in a national park, it's just the epitome where you have everything there. You can make decisions on the fly. It's all set up for that. Like, it's all set up for van life, RV. The people are accommodating to it. It's not weird.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of places to find a park, paid or unpaid. So in that environment, I could just see how, like, I have so much fun just jumping in my truck with a buddy and just setting out. And, it's just, I can't imagine, like, the trip you did, 2 months, man.
Yeah.
All right. Walk us through that.
Yeah. So to your point, and then I'll go through the logistics on it. How now we have, our lifestyle, for work and et cetera, have kind of deadlines. We typically don't go more than 3 months, back in our home base, Colorado-ish. But how I plan it is having a destination in mind. And along the way, if we find something we like, we'll stay as long as we want, or as long as our resources are sufficient.
But you can't do that if you've booked too far ahead, right?
Exactly.
So you got to play that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That planning phase early on probably limited you in a way.
Mm-hmm. Now, yes, like we went up to Banff, which I'll talk about. You have to book out a long ways in advance.
For sure, yeah.
But outside of those, kind of hyped experiences, I don't book more than a day in advance. Or I typically won't book something. What we'll do is when we wake up that morning, so to our routine, when I wake up, I will decide where we're going to stay that night and how far we're going to drive.
Over your coffee.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. We'll pull out what we read in the morning. We'll talk about our day, and we'll plan out where we're going to go.
That sounds relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's our happy medium. It fits us.
Do you have a setup outside the van when you're at like a true camping spot?
Yeah, so table and chairs, normal camping stuff. And then what I built is the swivel mount table by the passenger side comes out of the van to create another table. And then I don't have an awning yet. That's something that I think I would put in there to create a little bit more space. And then I open up the back doors. That's actually where our shower is. I'll open up the back doors. I got a full-length curtain that goes up with an outdoor shower.
Oh, so you did get the shower.
Yeah, I do have let's say a rudimentary shower in the back.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Rinse off and
honestly, I just use it to spray the sand off.
Wait, does your bed get kind of nasty?
No, there are certain things I'm a neat freak about.
Okay.
That would be one of them.
So you wipe down or whatever before you get in there.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be fine without showering that's camping in a nutshell. But I guess it's one thing in a tent and your sleeping bag, it's used to being sweaty and disgusting. But if your bed gets all that way, and you said you prioritize that night's sleep.
The other thing too is if someone's going to plan a trip like that is you don't realize how important laundry is. That is one of the priorities we plan trips around. And where we're going to go is if there's laundry mats along the way.
Where do you typically do laundry?
All over. As you can imagine, we've hit a lot of different types of laundry mats.
If I were you, I would just wear the same thing for 3 days and then how long you been wearing that?
Yeah, a little bit,
Well, that makes sense, man. It makes sense. What are some things in your life? I know we keep foreshadowing the 2-month trip, but I'm just interested, going back to, you said, this parsing down of your life and you realize things you don't need. Okay, you don't need a big wardrobe. You don't need a crazy extensive diet. What are some other things that you were able to let go of that you can think of? Does anything come to mind?
I think those are the two biggest. Nothing else comes to mind at the moment.
Obviously, you don't need a lot of variety of social interaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're just good to go. Would you consider yourself an introvert?
Yeah, I think that this fits my personality a lot more than my wife's, but it's a lot easier for me to, I think they say I get a lot more energy just in close than outwardly. So yeah, I mean, that's a struggle for sure, trying to, for us and, kind of how we live in our faith, we one things that we do to get social interaction is we actually stop at a different church on a Sunday, and that kind of brings a little bit more social into it and continuing, on that pathway that we like and trying to. So I think we're a little bit maybe history nerds too, to a certain degree. So when we go to somewhere, we look at museums and history places and that kind of stuff. We hit that typically first.
That's cool. The church everywhere you go, because you really see the community there, I would think.
Yeah, it's a good way to see the community, for sure.
Well, I figured you could easily meet people there. It's like a very approachable area. You're going into well, okay, this is a good question to ask you because I've always wondered. When I talk to Europeans, you go there, you have these big cathedrals, all the local churches are so old and beautiful. And here in the States, it's typically a community center or something you're going into. Do you find the churches you go to in places are very stunning and beautiful? Or are they more high school gymnasium?
I didn't grow up or have any interaction with the Catholic faith, but I think one of the things they do really well is their architecture. I love going to those cathedrals, and I think my short time in Europe kind of brought that up. We were in Dallas, and we picked the most beautiful church to go to.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so personally, that's a thing I love. Even outside of churches and stuff, that's something that really appeals to me. But yeah, I think that's one of the things lacking in a lot of the American, Christian faith is, their churches are in, I think there's a local one that's like in an old Ace Hardware.
That's what my experience was growing up.
Yeah.
We went through periods of time of being more religious than others, I guess, because we'd go to church for 3 months straight, and then we wouldn't go for a year, and then whatever. But yeah, the church I always went to was just some community center. It just felt like nothing special.
And everyone has maybe a different opinion about it. Something it's not. It's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be as where you go, and the building doesn't matter. But when you have a beautiful stained glass cathedral, it's hard to beat.
Right. Well, I learned this in Austria, and this is I forget which episode it was, but the walking tour guide in Austria, Basti, he was telling me that at one point in Europe, everybody was going away from Catholicism, and they wanted to bring people back, and they were just like, well, power and money, right? So that's why they started building a lot of these really beautiful cathedrals to kind of humble people before God, so to speak, and to attract them into these really beautiful buildings and show the wealth and power of the church. And we didn't really get that message here in the States. I'm like, it is not that way here in the States. I mean,
good and bad. I think that there's, they're beautiful, but I don't know if they're necessary.
It's much easier to go to church every Sunday if you're going to St. Peter's Basilica in Rome versus going to the Mickleton Community Center or whatever.
Exactly.
So there's a little bit different, but that's a cool travel platform. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody doing that.
Yeah, it's fun. We do enjoy it.
I just imagine when you said you have the outside set up with the coffee, for me, one of the best parts of camping is that morning coffee. That is like my sacrament. And I don't care if it's 100 degrees out. I'll get out. First thing, I put the water on, kind of look around the tent in the morning, see what animals have come by, look for tracks, look for whatever. And then I set up my chair, maybe start a fire, maybe not. But that is like my time. And even if I just sit and stare into the forest, it's just, there's such a powerful moment for me. So imagine you just sitting up in Banff and having that and just stepping out of the van. What'd you think of Banff?
I enjoyed it. So to that trip, we left Colorado, which is, I would recommend a trip if anyone is looking for ideas. Obviously, Colorado is stunning. A lot to do here. We went north through Jackson up to Yellowstone, and then into Montana. Beautiful places in Montana. And then we went up to, I believe that's Glacier on the border of Canada into Waterton. My national park friend who's a buff is probably laughing at me for missing all the names. And then from there we went up to Calgary. And if you were to ask me what was my highlight from that trip, I really liked Calgary. That was my first time in Canada. And I enjoyed it. That was my favorite city on the whole trip.
Why'd you like it?
Just the different culture, and the city center was great. Now, I didn't live there. We were only there for, let's say, a couple days, but really enjoyed it. The different, the cuisine was fun to get into. And yeah, just enjoyed that. From there, we went up to Banff. Banff was great. There's a couple key spots that we enjoyed.
Stunning, man.
Yeah.
Banff is
yeah,
crazy
very,
beautiful.
It's funny growing up in the Rockies, you think like outside of the Alps, like what do you got?
It's different up there.
And then you get up there, you're like, wow, the Colorado Rockies are kind of they're small.
Well, it's just they were so impacted differently by the glaciers,
Yeah.
right? And just so carved and just straight up. Yeah, just stunning. And the big alpine lakes,
Yeah.
like just big
That glacier
country up
water,
there.
that's
Yeah.
photos don't do it.
You went to Lake Louise?
And and Marine Lake.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, man.
It's wild. Yeah, it's well worth seeing that. And then from there, we had to come back into the States for our safety reason, and then through along the U.S. border to Washington, on the north side of Montana and Idaho and Washington, which is great.
You didn't want to drive along Canada?
I couldn't. I had to come back to the States to pick up the rest of our equipment.
Oh, do you want to talk about that?
Want me to?
I would love to. I think it's interesting.
Yes.
I never even thought about that.
So,
Yeah.
Being, how we like to live, I carry a handgun, concealed carry, which is a normal part of growing up and how I live. You can't take a handgun into Canada. Who knows? So you have to drop it off in the States and come pick it back up. Now, there's a lot of rules and regulations and ideas around it, but we drop it off at a gun store, and then that is why I had to come back to the U.S. before going. I would have loved to go straight west and down in Canada, but that's why we had to come back.
Okay, so you can't cross the border because if they search the van, for example. Did they search it when you crossed?
They did not.
Okay. But if they did, you would have been fucked, as they say.
Yeah.
So you left, and so that's a service they provide, the gun store.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly right.
and did they blink an eye when you're like, we're going to Canada, we want to leave the gun here?
Well, it's funny, about maybe a day or two ahead of time, I was planning this because I was like, what am I going to do? Do I go through the border with it?
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I didn't think about that at all.
You'll get like banned from the country.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, if you have a DUI in the States, you can't even go to Canada?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Got a buddy, got like a DUI years ago and can't go to Canada. There's some statute of limitations, like 5 or 10 years.
Well, I grew up in the mountains. I typically will carry because of wildlife.
Totally.
And I'm like going into the wilderness of, the Canadian Rockies, and I'm like, that's the reason I bring it.
Yeah.
Grizzlies, etc.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a little nerve-wracking.
I think that sounds so weird to people who live in cities or who live on the East Coast. The idea of like, well, why do you need to carry a gun? It's like, okay, I'm going to send you on a camping trip.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell these people, like people in Philly or in D.C. where my sister lives. Like, what do you need a gun? I'm like, okay, you come out to visit. I'm going to take you on a solo camp trip. I'll set up your tent for you, but I'm going to leave you there for the night. And in the morning, we'll see what you feel like. Yeah, you let me know if you'd rather prefer to have a gun in there at night. Yeah, I mean, it's just there's big wildlife around, and you're in the middle of nowhere. Things can happen.
Yeah.
It's really not like this great paranoia or like excessivity people make it out to be. It's just like a wilderness tool. And so I don't think it's that big a deal. But I was super stunned that the gun store did this. Like,
so to talk about that point, I was trying to plan it out. And so I was like, okay, what's the most northern Montana city that we're going to go through outside of there's only a few selections, so it's probably
like
easy
3 cities in Montana.
Yeah. Outside of Glacier. And I called one and they were closed. I called the second one and literally I said, hey, I'm on a road trip and I'm coming up north through you guys. And I'm going to Canada. And he said, so you want to drop off a gun, right? I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, I had it like, I rehearsed it in my mind 1,000 times. What am I going to do? And he's like, yeah, here's what it's going to cost. Here's what's going to happen. Drop it off, pick it up, sign this. That's it. I was like, okay, dude, you're the best.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Were you concerned? Because isn't it illegal to drive state to state with a gun? Like in California, for example.
Yeah, so the states that I went through,
you didn't have it.
Yeah, I didn't have.
I
did the thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have it. But,
Got you. Yeah.
but yeah, so Yeah, it's something to there. I actually am well versed on the different laws and what you have to do. Like I wouldn't take it to DC, etc. There are, parts of the states that you want to avoid with that. But just being careful.
So they didn't give you any trouble?
No, we had more problem at the Mexico border.
Oh, you drove into Mexico?
We did not go to Mexico, but as you know, they have checkpoints, and on our last trip, we went to White Sands National Park and then Carlsbad Caverns, and they have a checkpoint an hour or two north of that.
Before you even get out of the States?
Yeah, yeah. So it's just a U.S. I don't know, a border check. But everyone, you had to go through it and stuff, and we had more of a conversation there. When we went through Canada, the questions they asked were, "Do you have firewood? And do you have what was it? Fresh produce?" That was all they asked.
Which they don't want to transport
diseases
stuff.
Or whatever.
They didn't ask, like, do you have drugs? Do you have guns? Do
No,
you have whatever?
Nothing. They didn't even search us. Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Didn't even look inside.
No.
Wow. And what did they say on the checkpoint to Mexico?
Just a lot more questions. I think to not out my wife here, but she was driving, and it was a sporadic checkpoint. We didn't know about it because we weren't at the border, right? And so we pull on the line, and she's like, "I don't want to go through it." And so we probably did the worst thing possible. In the line we park, and she's like, "I'm like, no, it's okay. It's not a big deal. We don't have anything illegal." Yeah. And, we'll be okay. And so she parks and she hops out of the seat. And I'm like, oh, we're screwed now. She's like, I'm not driving. So I get in the driver's seat and I go through.
Oh, and they were like, why did that just happen?
Probably not the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And so, U.S. citizens, that kind of thing.
Okay. But yeah, that draws some suspicion. Did they ask you why she got out of the driver's seat?
No, she didn't ask what they had. They were wondering what was going on.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, so don't do that if you're wondering.
Yeah, it's like being at a DUI checkpoint and just banging a UE. And they're like, wait, where is she going?
Wrong turn.
I love it. Oh, well, crap, man. We're already at an hour. We said we were going to do an hour. All right. Let's wind it down. How long are you going to do this? How sustainable is this for you, do you think, going forward?
Yeah, so we'll go probably all of 26. There are kind of our agenda is to we've lived by the coast, by the water, and that's where we're going to live next. And so my excuse was to see all of the U.S. coastline to make a decision. So
have you gotten there? Have you seen it all?
No, we have. The only place that we haven't seen is your home area is north of basically Jersey. We haven't been north of that. Not that we're going to move there for the weather or anything.
Okay. Go park at my mom's house.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll love it.
And then in this season of life, I've seen it before, but with my wife, we haven't seen the southern coast and a lot of the Florida coastline. So we're going to see that. That's our next trip, and then we'll make a decision then. But probably all of 26. Want to squeeze as much as I can before we stop that. But probably 27, it'll be less. Who knows? Lord willing, it'll be as long as we can. But probably 27, it will be more of a trip here and there.
Do you find this lifestyle more expensive than renting an apartment? Because it probably costs you quite a bit, obviously the van itself and all the input into that, but then, gas and buying food on the run all the time. And talk to me about that. How's the price comparison to when you lived stable? Yeah,
so if we take out the actual vehicle, like the build and the expense that comes with that, it's a little bit less expensive than your normal, maybe let's say apartment living, but not by much. It's not cheap. Now, if I was solo, maybe if I was a bachelor, it'd be different. But, as a family, we have other requirements that we have to, fulfill. And so it's more expensive as...
Like what, you wouldn't have heat if it were just you or something?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Ramen.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, eating more ramen. I see. Okay. Yeah. I see. But you change the oil a lot, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Like you got to change the oil every 2 weeks.
Yeah. So from basically June when we started traveling more regularly to now, it's been about 25,000 miles. Which,
25,000 miles since June?
yeah,
So that's like 7 oil changes. Well, I guess it's 5,000 really
yeah,
miles. So
yeah. And
6 oil
in
changes.
that the Ford Transit you can go a little bit more, but yeah,
Have you had any problems, mechanical problems
it
or tires or?
we haven't. It's been amazing, man.
Wow.
No mechanical problems,
Whew.
which has been great. That's why I bought a little bit of a newer van was because of that reason. Didn't want to deal with that stuff on the road.
Yeah, I mean, you're out in a remote part of somewhere and you're having trouble and everything.
People will buy price wise, they'll buy really, a lot cheaper vans, older stuff. But it comes with the consequence of having to fix it.
Talk about stress too. If you're not sure, like if you're not fully believing in your vehicle and yeah, you don't want to push it or where you're going to go.
This has been stressful, but not super stressful. There are times that are stressful, just like normal life. But if I had vehicle problems, I probably would have quit a long time ago. Because there's that would ruin everything. I mean, just imagine your engine blows and you're in, the middle of, New Mexico or something. Nothing against my friends from New Mexico, but
Yeah, I mean, it's more of like if that happened in your normal car, it would suck, but that's not your home.
yeah, exactly.
It's like it's a double whammy. It's like, okay, my car broke down and this is also my house that's now compromised.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of are losing everything at once.
Yeah, you're stationary. You can't do anything.
Yeah, and it's not like, okay, well, we'll just have the van towed back to my house because you don't have one. I mean, of course, you have like friends and family and stuff, but yeah, I think it's just a different mentality of that stress. So I think you were smart to do that. Do you feel it's been more fun than you expected or about what you expected, the whole van life experience?
Yeah, I tried to, like anything, I think that you can resonate with the opinion, but like tried to lower expectations going in. I think that might have been something that I learned from you early on in our relationship. But tempering expectations, like it is what it is, right? Like it just you take it as it comes and enjoy what you can. And no, I think it is. My expectations were probably spot on. There was I think a lot more positive that has come out of the experience than I anticipated going in, and probably the same amount of the negative consequences.
Okay. Anything I'm missing or that you feel people should know about van life?
Yeah, I'll give a funny one.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I think smell.
Smell?
Let's talk about some of the real things. Smell in a small space. You have to really worry about, and it's not just some of the funny stuff we talked about, like, a toilet inside and not having a regular shower, that kind of stuff. But, you're in a house, you have a kitchen for cooking. You have a living area and a sleeping area. When you combine it all into, let's say, a 20 square foot area, you have to be cognizant of that. I'm less worried about it than my wife, but, something to think about, proper ventilation. And
you cook something and it stinks like it for days kind of thing?
I eat as much, protein as I can. And as like cooking any steak, has a lingering smell.
Yeah.
And so if you go in the van right now, you won't smell anything but steak from last week.
And that attracts the bears.
Yeah. I think the only thing I would say is, we're talking about maybe decisions, from when we first kind of met to, where we're at now. I think it's easy to have a fantasy of something. It can be a lot of different things. For me, it was, could I work remote? Could I travel and work? Could I travel permanently and work? And, as we talk about it, it's a progression over time. But I think a lot of people, and I think people listening to this podcast are probably travelers and experience a lot of things. But maybe if you're hoping for more of a lifestyle somewhere between maybe, traveling full-time, being a travel writer, and traveling, a van down by the river full-time, kind of just go for it. You really don't know how it can go. And I always look at what is the worst case scenario for something. Like if I make the decision, what's the worst thing that could happen? Could I live with that? Could I mitigate the risk with that? And if I'm okay with the worst case, why not?
What was your worst case?
Probably worst case, probably breaking down in some podunk village in Mexico with my wife.
But that could be good.
Yeah,
That could be good.
yeah.
Could be a good experience.
Yeah, I could learn Spanish,
Well, I got to tell you, man, you talk about it very humbly, but you did this surgically. Because when I first met you, you articulated to me, I want to change my life. And then I've just watched you do it over 5 years, step by step. And you've done it always very realistically. Like, you knew that it wasn't going to be like the Instagrammers. You knew it was going to be work and hard, and you're going through it. And, yeah, you have some knucklehead like me being like, how's it like working at Home Depot? But I can see you. You're laughing. You enjoy it. You've built whatever you were visualizing before. You've accomplished it. You've done it. And I got to tell you, man, it's really rare. I'm pumped that you did it. I think it's so cool, and I hope you take the time to appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
And you can transition out of this life anytime you want. You want to just get a place and work from there and just take the van out on weekends. You've done it. Like, you're in a really, like, you're downstream, man. It's awesome.
Appreciate that.
Right on.
Took some encouragement early on. And I think it's, I think we are in an interesting time in our history here where maybe older generations prioritize different things. And I think we're getting closer to maybe more of a middle ground where obviously career is important. I work all the grubby time. But the old cliche of memories over, et cetera. And I think that now where we're at, we won't have to get into, being able to work from a laptop and all that kind of stuff. Like, we can fantasize about it, but there's so many potentials we can take advantage of.
It's really easier than ever. The excuses are getting much thinner.
Absolutely.
Much thinner. But it comes down to, at some point, making some kind of personal decision to do it. And it's fucking scary.
It is.
I'm sure, like, you were terrified.
Yeah, a lot of unknown. I mean, I've never known anyone that decided to take a lifestyle like that. So maybe they can get a little bit of intel from a conversation like this. But, yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? It's good, man. Well, it's good to see you, as always. I regret it's not for longer, but you're off again.
Yeah,
so next trip is Colorado. You have a work thing in Dallas, so you're going to drive there, and then you'll go east to New Orleans and stuff?
Yep, and then we'll take the coast down to, we'll see how far we go, but Key West, we'll see if we can get a van that far.
Oh, you can get down to Key West, for sure. But down there is very competitive,
Yeah.
so you're going to want to book spots down there.
No stealth camping down there?
I'm sure it can happen.
If you're in Key West and you got a parking spot for me, let me know.
Did I tell you that story?
No.
Oh, dude. Okay, well, here's one hack I did.
Okay.
You can try this maybe. This must have been, 2019 maybe. It was pre-pandemic, I think. Can't remember. Anyway, I went down to Fort Myers. I had like a family reunion kind of thing, and I wanted to do my own thing. So I rented a car there, and I was driving down to Key West. Had never been there. Wanted to do the Hemingway pilgrimage to the Hemingway house and just have like a couple days to myself. Didn't plan anything. And then, every hotel is like $800 down there. So I'm like, fuck. All the campsites were booked up. So it's like, what am I going to do? So I'm driving around Key West, and all of a sudden it just hits me. I'm like, okay, I know what to do. I go to a parking garage. It's like $40 to park overnight. Pull in, drive up to the roof, find a spot on the highest level, and that was where I camped for the night. Didn't really have a bed, but I had like a blanket. I folded the seats down and put it in the back. I went out for the night, as you do in Key West, and I came back and got in the car and laid down and went to sleep, and that was
It's perfect.
my camping experience. I don't know if that would work with a van or what the rules are with that, but I guess I have done it in Key West after all. I forgot about that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no parking garages for the van. Too tall, typically.
Oh, you can't get into any.
It's like 10 feet tall, so most of them are an issue, as I've experienced for sure.
All right, well, we'll be waiting to hear what happens to you in Key West, but it's fun down there. You should go. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks,
super
man.
interesting.
Appreciate it.
Okay, buddy.
Yes, now I'm riding the terrain, flying high up once again. Got my crew sitting healthy and my boo living wealthy. Level 99, never settle in my mind. So I pedal and I climb up the pedestal and find almighty weapon. So I calm, lightly step into the castle. Satchel, tackled, rascal. castle. Down the corridor where I'm grounded through the floor. Roundhouse into my core, down, out, and through the door. Sword down at my side, I gotta round up and ride. Face boss, break jaws till I take off. Face off, stop and swing my serious strike. This is it, take the title, disappear in the night. To the whole wide world. Got the keys to the kingdom overseas with the wisdom. Guarantee that my rhythm hit the whole wide world. Slay the boss in the castle when we cross final battle. Then I walk out, travel to the whole wide world. Got the keys to the kingdom overseas with the wisdom.